not to worry. You know very well the most important concept or most important part in your system is processor or microprocessor, who is responsible to get all the things done, right? The responsibility of this is that if you give any instructions, it will make that to happen. Fine, all of you. Now, whatever code you're going to write, somewhere there should be a place where you're going to keep that. So initially what used to happen is there was a device which is referred as hard disk drive. Now all the programs which you used to write used to be present here on the hard disk. Now who is responsible to execute this program? Processor. Now if you want this program to be executed, you have to give it to the processor. So internally behind the scenes in your computer, these devices are connected using something called as bus. Bus is nothing but wires which will connect one memory unit to the another memory unit within the system. So what used to happen is this hard disk used to send the instructions very slowly through this bus to your processor. And the moment processor used to receive that, within no time processor used to execute and give you the output. Again, this hard disk used to send these instructions very slowly. And within no time, this processor used to execute and give you the result. I'm stressing the word here very slow, very slowly it is sending the instructions and very slowly it is executing. What I'm trying to say is the microprocessor is so much fast that it executes all the instructions within no time. And for the second instruction, it has to wait. Why? Because the hard disk was sending the instructions slowly. Why? Because the nature of hard disk is very, very slow. The technology which is involved to build your hard disk is in a way that it works comparatively very slow compared to your processor. And the technology which is involved to build a processor, which is semiconductor, which is very, very fast in its nature. Because of its nature, it executes all your instructions very, very quickly. And because of the nature of hard disk, it used to send the instructions very, very slowly. And what used to happen is whenever there is a mismatch between two devices, two memory units within a system, entire efficiency of system will go down. There was a frustration here. That is when people thought, let's disconnect this entire connection which we have right now. People were frustrated because hard disk is sending the instructions very slowly and processor is executing very, very fast. There was a mismatch in the speed and the entire efficiency of the system used to come down. Because of this, they thought, let's erase whatever is happening here. And people thought, why this is happening? Because the technology which is involved to build the microprocessor, they thought we should have a memory unit which is also of same technology so that there is no speed mismatch. That is when they came up with one solution and they were able to invent such a memory device which is also very fast as your processor and which is referred as RAM. Now, hard disk and processor not connected to directly. Who are connected? Your RAM and processor. They both are connected to each other. Now, whatever program you used to write earlier on the hard disk, now you are going to write on the RAM. Fine. And all this program, who is the one who is responsible to execute? Your processor. Now you will be given to that processor. RAM is sending the instructions very, very fast and processor is also executing very, very fast. Now processor need not to wait for second instruction, because second instruction by the time it executes would have been waiting in the doorsteps only. In other words, what I'm trying to say here, after the invention of RAM, RAM is also fast, processor is also fast. RAM takes your instructions, sends the instruction to processor very, very fast, and processor is also executing in very, very fast. In other words, there is no mismatch in memory units within the system. And the efficiency became very, very good. Fine. But there is one biggest problem which is associated with RAM. What is that biggest problem if you ask me? Of course, the advantage of RAM is it is very, very fast. That is the advantage, no doubt in that. But the biggest disadvantage here is it is volatile. What do you mean by volatile? Means in simple English terms, if I have to explain you what exactly volatile means, Volatile means such a device which needs continuous power supply to work. Example, for fraction of 1 second also, millisecond also, if power gone, all the data which is there on RAM will be vanished. Example, you might have written code in entire day, maybe lakhs of lines of code which is there on the RAM, and for 1 second power gone, all the data is vanished. I hope I'm making sense here. Yes, that is when they realize whatever device was there which they thought it's useless, it is very slow, they realize there are some advantages also of this device. What is one of the advantage of this device is it is non-volatile. Non-volatile means whatever device or whatever data you're going to keep inside the hard disk, that will be there forever. Now, even if there is no power supply given to it, after 1 year also, if you given the power supply, if you check, the data will be there. So non-volatile means something which will be there permanently until and unless you store it. So whatever data you're going to store, it will be there permanently. They thought this is also not waste. Let's connect this with your RAM. And they connected these two devices. Now, whatever program you're writing actually on the RAM. And RAM is sending the instruction to the processor very fast, and you're able to see that within no time, right? Example, whatever I'm drawing here, I'm drawing actually on the RAM. And still that the moment if I say one line I'm able to see, right? RAM is taking that and sending to the processor, and processor is executing very fast. You can see if I draw, immediately I'm able to see that. You can see the speed of RAM and processor working together. Fine, but there is one problem here. What is the biggest problem here? The biggest problem here is RAM is a volatile device. Volatile means continuous power supply has to be given. For a fraction of a second, if power gone, entire data will be gone. So if you want your data to be there in your system permanently, then your data you have to store in your hard disk. And the process of getting the data on the hard disk to store it permanently is only technically we call it as saving. So only whenever you used to write in your college days and all, you used to write the program, right? And the moment if in your labs, usually power gone, one sound used to come beep and all the entire program used to vanish. And your lab instructor used to say this, save the program, save the program, save the program. Why? Because whatever you're writing, it is on the RAM. And if you want that to be there in your computer permanently, then you have to get the data to the hard disk. And the process of that is only called as saving. Now, whatever is there on your hard disk, if that has to be executed, that has to reach to the processor. And is hard disk and processor, are they directly connected? No, in between we have a RAM. Now, getting the data from your hard disk and storing onto the RAM so that it will take care of further execution. That process technically we call it as loading. Now, in fact, many of this class might have seen whenever you have an old movie, old song already stored in your computer, if you click that, slightly it will take time loading. And after once it is loaded, there is no distraction. Why? Because it has been taken from hard disk to the RAM. Hard disk is little slow. It is giving the data to the RAM. And once it is there in the RAM, continually it will be keep on executing, and you'll be able to see all the results efficiently here on your system. Fine to all. So whenever you write something on your mobile phone is also a computer only. Laptop is also computer, desktop is also computer. Whenever you type something, you're typing on the RAM, and RAM is taking your instructions and executing given to the processor, and processor is executing that very fast. You can see the speed here. But if you switch off your phone, and again if you switch on, will there be there? Will the data will be there? No, it will not be there. But if you save it, if you switch off your phone, again if you switch on your phone, if you try to access the data, you'll be able to access. Why? Because you have saved it, you have stored that data on the hard disk. Fine to all. Again, there are so many things involved here, cache memory and all of that. I need not to discuss that. I'm just trying to give you the general overview. So what I'm trying to say is, if something has to be executed, that has to come to the RAM, and from the RAM only the instructions will go to the processor and all the things will be executed. So RAM happens to one of the most important memory unit, which you must know as a developer. Fine. Now, all the memory storage location which is there on the hard disk, technically we refer to as file. The storage location which is there on the RAM, technically we refer to as byte. Fine to all. Now, whenever from today onwards, if I or anyone utter the term called as file, that means we are referring to the hard disk. So if I say you source file, that means after you code it, Whenever you're coding a Java that is there inside this RAM, you're coding your Java file. You will save it. That means that is coming to the RAM. Now, wherever your Java code is present, no, that is only we call it as source file. Now, once you compile it, that will be converted to bytecodes and it will come here and all the further executions and all will happen. And again, at the end, we call it as class file. That means that will be there permanently unless and until you delete it. Fine. I hope I'm making sense to everyone here. Yes, SSD is replacing the hard disk. SSD is something, the advanced version of hard disk to store the data permanently, which is quite fast also because the technology is evolving, right? So again, I need not to give in depth about this. It's just the overview, a general high level overview. As a developer, you must have all these terms clarity. That is the reason we have discussed this.